So hello. Now I'm actually at a Baltic event this evening, and I've come very early, so there aren't many people here. In fact, there's no one here, but there is Remy
Hi.
here of Baltic Watches, and he's the sales manager in Paris. Now today we're in London. And I was coming along today anyway to see the watches, but I thought to myself, if I arrive early, I might be able to get a better look at these watches. But I thought, Remy, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I thought to myself, I imagine the people coming this evening, they are going to know about
bit,
Baltic,
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
What would you... If you were to meet someone that didn't know too much about watches, but they liked wristwatches, how would you explain Baltic?
So Baltic is a quite recent project.
Yeah.
It's been the company's been around since 2017.
Yeah.
So yeah, 7 years old.
Yes.
So quite a recent brand. Our focus is on timeless design, so mostly vintage inspired with classic proportions. So.
Yeah.
Turning around 37 to 39 millimeters
Yeah.
around. So yeah, usually you have very classic designs. You have quite a lot of diversity. So now we have divers, dress watches.
Yeah. Just to add, after the chat with you, I will actually walk around and we're going to see all these watches. Classic design, diver-inspired designs.
Yeah, mostly yeah. We're always trying to play with proportions. Etienne, who's one of the founders of the company, is a massive photography fan. So always this look at, you want to have a watch that catches the light, that has nice reflections, nice proportions.
Yeah.
And try to play as much as possible with what you have around yourself.
And how would you describe? I'm trying to think of the best question to ask that allows you to illustrate accurately what the watches might look like.
Yeah.
If I can interject, for some reason, when I look at them, they remind me of Patek Philippe. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you can find some cues. You have some maybe in the M01. You are also. We try to have as many cues as possible. We don't want to, just make an homage or a copy. We try to get inspired from vintage design. So I don't know, with the sapphire inserts, the sandwich dials, the step cases. Yeah, there can be some cues from Patek, but from loads of brands.
Yeah,
we try to have as much diversity as possible.
Yeah, and I've always understood that every watch brand, always the designers of all watch brands, they all look at every other design that's out there, and so it's very normal for you to see signature designs because. What it tends to mean is that it's very good. That's why someone.
It's always like that. I mean, Etienne has been, he has trained his eyes quite a lot.
Yeah.
He inherited from his father's collection, who had multiple watches. I mean, we're talking about over 100 pieces.
Yeah.
So he trained his eyes, and you get to see what you like, what you don't like, and then you can sort that out and find a design that pleases you as much as possible.
Yeah, it's wristwatches. I find they're such an interesting product, and I myself have spent the last couple of years forcing myself to understand further why we like these objects, why we purchase them. My own opinion is that they make you feel good.
Yeah,
and,
I mean the biggest thing I think is the emotional significance of the purchase.
Yeah.
As I've said, when you buy a watch, it's mostly based on emotions, on the design itself, on what it makes you feel. So very emotional purchases. I think it's a very sentimental. It's almost a romantic purchase.
Yeah. Remy, this is great. So I've just grabbed him, and so we've just had a very brief introduction. But I'm so curious to actually take the camera around the showroom.
Sure, we can do that.
So I will do that now. So I thought to myself, I was going to walk around and show these watches, but I thought, Remy's here, so why
Might as well.
so Remy, tell me about these watches. They look
sure.
super. I can't wait to see
So,
them.
maybe to tell you about the history of the brand. So we've started with these two models, which are the HMS and the Bicompax.
Yeah.
These are the Mark II. We started obviously with the Mark I. These watches were launched on the Kickstarter campaign back in 2017.
That's right.
We had those models. So we had an objective to raise approximately 60,000 euros to finance both collections. We ended up raising over 500,000, so pretty big success from the get-go. So the products were you know.
Do you know? I remember
decent.
I remember the Kickstarter campaign. I remember looking at it. Oh, that is lovely.
These you'll have on.
Yeah.
I think on this one you have the Seagull.
Ah, yes, yes. I will let you handle them because I think,
sure.
I think if I try, yeah.
So these, about the movements we use, we try to source depending on what we expect for the watch. So especially on technical specifications.
Yeah.
So for example, on this one you have a Miura movement.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Bicompax you'll have a Seagull.
Yes.
That we decided to use. I don't know if if you can see it correctly.
Yeah.
We decided to go for that movement simply because it's one of the slimmest chronograph movements we could go for.
Manual wind.
Exactly. So you have manual winding, which helps for the thickness of it. You're around 13 millimeters thick, as you can see.
Yeah, no, I know that people will love the thickness because it's such
especially
a wearable.
For chronograph.
Yes, yes.
That's the main issue we have.
Yeah.
We usually have with modern chronograph is that it's a bit chunky on the wrist.
Yeah.
It can be scratched up. If it's too big, it can be quite uncomfortable.
Wow.
So that's why we decided to go for the Seagull.
And so
these are the 03. So it's the new generation.
Yeah.
So the two main differences between the 02 and the 03 will be.
This is the 02.
Yeah, these are the 02. These are the 03.
Yeah.
So these will be the case, which is a tad smaller. I'll show you maybe on the Bicompax.
Right, so the 03 is a little smaller.
Exactly.
And is that
36 and a half.
36, oh wow. It looks, at first sight, I would say 38, but yes. But a very wearable size, a very popular size right now.
Definitely, and you have the addition of an oversized crown, again, for vintage inspiration in the design.
Yeah. And does that have a see-through case back, or is that a solid case
this
back?
one has to.
Yeah. Ah.
Good thing too with a smaller case, which we'll see also in the M01, is that you have a movement that fills up the entire case.
Yeah, which looks great.
Exactly. When you compare it to maybe this one.
Yeah.
You see that the edge is way smaller on the 02.
These are nicely finished movements, especially considering the price. It's amazing.
Definitely. It's why we decided to go for the Seagull. It's one of the best, quality to price ratio. And it looks actually good.
Yeah. Wow. And this is the.
This is certainly one of the most popular models we have had in the past years.
This is this model is the one that reminds me of Patek Philippe.
Exactly.
That style. I don't know if I'm correct saying that, but it's certainly what I thought when I first saw these. Yeah.
So you have the Breguet numerals that are, again, we want to have something that has some vintage flair, but keeping it modern too. So that's why on this one we have the applied Breguet indices. So very classic, very classic look. But we decided to go for an oversized index, which makes for a slightly more modern package.
I love it.
And also the off-centered second hand is. I think it's a very cool feature.
Yeah, no, this watch I can see it's so wearable and it's so appealing. It's a very friendly.
As you can see, on the wrist
and on the bracelet. That is lovely. Oh yeah, that is cool. Oh, that does look very, very cool.
Yeah. And also so it's a 36, but it was a tad larger thanks to the bezel.
Yeah, I love the bracelet.
Yeah, this one's a prototype. The definitive version
Is it a Baltic prototype?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So this one is the final version. So it's a bit more refined, as you can see.
Yeah.
We used to have a pressure clasp, but we decided to go for
push buttons
that are a bit more secured.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. Oh, you've got some great bracelet straps and bracelets there. But have I seen all the all the
these?
versions
So
here?
these were the most recent additions to the collection.
Oh, yeah.
So it's sort of a tribute to the HMS and Bicompax.
Wow.
In a gold PVD tone. So it's not a gold plated. It's a PVD.
Yeah, but it really looks like it is gold.
Yeah. We've tried many times to have the right shade of gold.
Yes.
I think it was very important because if you have something that is a bit too saturated, it can disserve the watch. Whereas on this one, I think the color is spot on.
Yeah, no, that is lovely. But I think it's going to appeal so well because of the price point.
Yeah.
It's so we've over to the bracelets. I love the way that the width of the bracelet. It's so and this bracelet
very classic.
Yes,
inspired from the 40s and the 50s, and especially on the MR01 that I have on the wrist. Since the bracelet is a bit thinner, it increases the size of the watch on the wrist, as you can see.
I love the aesthetic though. I don't know how to explain it apart from. I like it. Yeah, I like bracelets that match the case size. And of course it's very my opinion. But yeah, it's and I love the way that you have this presentation. Yeah. So people you can literally imagine what these watch heads.
Yeah, of course. I mean that's the whole purpose of the showroom is to help you project yourself, see the watches, try them on, and see what you like.
Yeah. Now I've seen these before. These are my favourites. The chronographs. Gosh, look at that! I mean, straight away, I think people will be able to, see the appeal there. They are super.
Definitely. So
these are mechanical movements.
Exactly.
Yes.
So mechanical Salita SW500.
Which is that's a very good movement.
Yeah.
What's the power reserve?
And this one, it's 63 hours.
That's right. Yeah. What I find amazing. So this again is my opinion. The movement is it's very similar to it's Valjoux based, but it's been re-engineered. It's been put together with tighter tolerances today by Salita, and it's a fabulous movement. I've had a few watches with the 7750 chronograph movement in it, and it's such a good move. It just works.
Yeah.
And anyone can repair it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also why we decide to go for certain types of movements.
Yeah.
And not always in-house, because when you have an in-house movement, you have some you definitely have some drawbacks, especially on the repair, the servicing, etc.
Yes, you do.
And when you want to have a watch that is accessible, you have to think about that.
Yeah.
There's the price, but there's also the dimensions, the aesthetics, and also all the logistics around it. So, and it goes by without saying that repairing the watch is important, and having a workhorse movement like this one will be definitely easier to service afterwards.
Yeah, I always use the analogy that you're building a racing car, and instead of going through the pain and the expense of building your own engine, you've gone straight to BMW and you've said, "Can I have one of your V8s?" And
it works like that. I mean, it's the easiest way to have a movement that is serviceable in the future.
Yeah. And of course you've got the Panda and the reverse Panda.
Exactly. So this one is the Panda, and the one I had in my hands is the reverse.
I like them both, and again I would have to really think which is my favourite. They're both super. Now my eye was caught. It's like being in a sweet shop and wanting to try. These are lovely.
Yeah, and again, the proportions on these, I think it's one of the most comfortable watch we have in the lineup.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a 37mm case. You have a recessed crown.
Yeah.
And on the wrist, you just have that feeling that you have a pebble.
Yes.
It's very smooth, very round, and on the wrist, it's super comfortable.
Yeah. I can see that being it's such a pleasant watch. I imagine everyone is going to like this watch. In fact, I like this watch just looking at it like this. I like the brown, and I like these two.
Yeah, the creamer has been by far the most popular.
Yeah, I've just been to Dubai Watch Week, and for some reason, that's got Siddiqui written all over it. I don't know if that's the right. Wow, cool. And over here we have.
Then you go to the sports watches we have.
Yeah.
So you have the GMT right here.
Ah, okay. So we've. Oh, look at this.
So this one was our first Swiss movement in a watch.
Wow.
With the soap rod.
These are really super watches. Look at that.
Yeah,
wow.
We've tried as again. Speaking of proportions, we've tried our best to to have a watch that sits well on the wrist. GMTs are known to be quite thick. This one
but I love thick watches.
Yeah, they can have some. They are good points to have a thicker watch for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
But usually the proportions are a bit offset when you have a thicker watch. It can be a bit more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we managed to have a watch that is as thick as the Aquasca Classic.
Yeah.
Simply by reducing the thickness of the sapphire, so we could get the hands closer and have again the same proportions.
Yeah. Wow. This I don't think this needs any explanation. It's such a good-looking watch, and especially if you like GMTs. You know the colorways you have here. I mean, they're so good.
Yeah, they are very playful. It's just like the Hermetique. It's a fun watch. It's definitely one of the best summer watches you can have. It's waterproof. You have a GMT, a touch of color.
Yeah.
So.
It's fabulous. And then we've got the jewel crown.
Exactly.
Oh, I mean, these are real crowd pleasers, aren't they? I don't think you have to sell these watches; they sort of sell themselves. The design is lovely.
Yeah, and this case too is very interesting to look at. You have some very nice chamfers on the bezel, on the lugs.
Yeah.
So it makes for a fantastic watch in the sun, especially.
Yes.
And again,
oh, that is good. Yeah, that is lovely. And then we have the.
And this is by far our. So historically, it's been our bestseller.
Wow. You can see why. Look at that.
We're going to have a drink, and then after an hour...
I am detecting Baltic's own design feel. There's a Baltic feel.
A touch,
which is good, which is difficult to achieve.
Yeah. I mean, it's taken us lots of trials to get to the point where you can have a design in which you're confident. And it's been quite a journey.
Because you're 5 years in, 6 years in?
No, I'm actually 1 year in.
You've been with Baltic 1 year. But Baltic is...
The brand has been around for about 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Now, for a watch company, 7 years is literally a blip. It's no time at all. But to get to where you've got to in 7 years is actually...
It's actually quite impressive.
Yeah.
We're very proud of it. We've been supported since the beginning, so it helps us a lot.
Of course it does. But I can see that the energy and the design effort, the build quality really jumps out at you, and the design aesthetic is there. But you've got a Baltic feel across the whole range, and I love this room, and it's really nice. Remy, look, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to grab some orange juice now. But thank you. This is super.
You're welcome.
Let's start off without them, unfortunately. Thanks for coming. We've been open here for about a year. We've already done one other event with Red Bar, and each time we have you guys over, it's always very nice. So